And we should be live. Hello, everyone. How are you all doing today? I know you were like, this is very bizarre. Queen is talking to us right away instead of there being a long intro. Today, there doesn't need to be an intro. I will want to come on here and talk about what has been going on in Canada over the last 24 hours. Actually, over the last couple of years, really. But there has been a new exciting thing that has happened with the Queen of Canada. Alp says, I'm so glad that they finally arrested that damn Queen of Karma. Now maybe Canada can be a decent place to live again. I mean, Queen of Canada. Yeah, Queen of Canada. That's right. That's right. Queen can safely change her name to Queen of Canada now. Maybe not. Maybe not. We're going to have a discussion about it. But yes, the Queen of Canada has been arrested, and it is hitting the news, but not really. Because, you see, this is considered small town news. And we're going to get into that a little bit. And therefore, it is not really hitting mainstream news as much as I would like it to hit, because I think that these topics are very important. And I actually was having a conversation with some people over the weekend up until now, just kind of conversing about how it appears like the public only seems to care about cults and what's happening with them when there are some amazing headlines. You know, like when Danny Masterson happened with Scientology, everyone for a while was like, yeah, that Scientology cult. How dare they hide abuse? We need to stop that. That's awful. And then they go on to living their lives and they forget about it. And that's cool. That's cool. But at the same time, it is something that is affecting everyone. And I think since the age of the internet, it's gotten worse because it can now affect you while you are at home, just kind of hanging out in your living room. That's right. You might be hanging out in your living room thinking that you're just watching some things that you like to watch and then be like, oh my God, I'm actually being indoctrinated into a cult. I thought I was just joining a YouTube community. Oh my Lord, what has happened? You know what I'm saying? And I think that the case of the Queen of Canada is an interesting case to look at because it involves the QAnon conspiracy. And a lot of people consider that conspiracy to be a USA conspiracy. They say that is something that the USA has to deal with. It's connected to MAGA, the MAGA cult. It is connected to Donald Trump being president. It is connected to that country. And therefore, since it is connected to that country, it will not affect my country. We have a very weird thing out here where people are like, if it doesn't affect me, then I don't care. And I find that very, very odd because if everybody thought that way, well, our world would be a very, very different place today now, wouldn't it? So I want you, especially if you are in Canada or you are not in the USA, to just kind of realize that the belief systems of that country affect your country. They affect, the cults affect your country. The things that go on there might be affecting you. And I get a lot of comments. I get a lot because I'm in Canada. And I often talk about things like the U.S. Security and Exchange Commission, the Federal Trade Commission, organizations that are in the USA. Sometimes when I speak out about a USA MLM, I get some pushback from people in the USA that are like, why do you even care? This is in the USA. You're in Canada. This doesn't affect you. Well, Amway making MLMs legal in the USA has very much affected how they are legal here in Canada. And I think that the world needs to have a better understanding of how these things can affect us. And I was hoping that during the truck convoy, during the pandemic times, that people would kind of realize that. because that was the first big event that had happened in a long time where the views in the USA that, we thought we had a border protecting us from, since they're all about their borders, apparently they only care about their borders, not letting people in. They don't care about their borders spreading misinformation and fucking everybody else over, okay? They're like, we don't care about that. But it bled over. We had people coming from the USA to Ottawa, where I reside, which is also the country's capital, and they were honking their horns into the night. They were keeping people awake. Now, again, I'm sure you're thinking, well, that doesn't affect me because I'm not in Ottawa, so why should I care? Well, maybe you were in Toronto. Maybe it affected you there because they also had a truck convoy going on down there. They spread. These belief systems spread. They spread to people no matter where they live. And in the age of the internet, again, it doesn't matter. You could be in South Africa and you could be watching QAnon conspiracy theories and you could be a part of that. And yeah, it makes no sense to a lot of people because, again, they're like, well, that doesn't affect that area. It's just affects here. But the belief systems, the conspiracy theory belief systems, the sovcits belief systems of not listening to the government, the anti-vax belief systems, these things spread. And then we end up with people like the Queen of Canada that kind of encompasses all of this and really shows you why, even if you are a small rural city with not even 200 people in your entire town, how this QAnon thing can very much all of a sudden show up in your backyard. This QAnon thing, apart from affecting me being here in Ottawa, has a major member of the Queen of Canada's cult that was a police officer in Belleville. And we're going to talk about how close that is to where I grew up. My hometown. That you don't usually hear about unless someone's interviewing Avril Lavigne and then they ask her where she came from. Of Napanee, Ontario. Another very small rural town that most people, until Avril Lavigne, didn't even know existed. And when we used to travel abroad and people would ask us where we were from as a family, we used to tell people we were from Kingston, Ontario, because that used to be the capital of Canada before, Ottawa apparently only live in places that were once the capital of Canada or are. And I just, just everything's very close to home. It can affect you. It doesn't matter how small your little city is. And I know a lot of people think things like, oh, well, I will never join Scientology and Mormonism. So why do I need to pay attention to what's going on with these things? Why do I need to learn media literacy? Why do I need to learn about coercive control and manipulation? How does that help me in my life? It actually helps you out a lot in every single thing that you do. In every single thing that you do, people can be manipulating you. Like, what do you mean? And I think that this is a good case that kind of shows all of that. And so I want to talk about that today. I think it is very, very, very important that we do, especially because of how close it is. How close it is to our backyard and how we are often talking about things that seem so far away and belief systems that seem like they can't come anywhere near us unless you are chronically online. And that's just not true, MAGA has influenced every country. I saw a Trump hat in my small desert town once. Yep. That's exactly it. Well, Canada's water is American water also, at least here. It's all American water. Don't ever let anyone forget it. That was a royal pain for the poor people trying to sleep. It really was. Yes, Joe, lakes and rivers don't care. I think it was from some small town they were near at one time. Also, this lady is supposed to be like a sovereign. Yes, she is. See, the thing that people don't understand is cults, conspiracy theories go hand in hand. A lot of these conspiracy theories have cults that form within them, right? They'll even have a leader that they look up to. And then it just gets very, very problematic. Yes, they are sovcits. Why do I have to learn about science? The world is flat. Yes, exactly. Things like this. And I don't understand because I am a constant learner. I am someone that literally all day long, every single day, I am researching things. I'm looking things up. I'm trying to learn about things. I'm trying to expand my horizons. I'm also deprogramming myself and trying to figure out who I am and what I believe in or don't believe in. You know, I'm going into my 40s. I just found out who I was as a whole. You know, I just turned 39 and I just found out who I am. And I think it's important to be on a constant search to better yourself, but on your own. Okay, you don't need a guru in order to do that. That is my point. As someone that actively lives a life where I believe that you should do that, all right, you can seek therapies. They're great. Most of them are short term because the goal is supposed to be empowering you to be able to help yourself. It's not to keep you dependent. And that is the difference with a guru and a therapy. And that is where these lines get crossed, right? Where people say, oh, I'm going to go to this person. They should help me out with life. And then the guru, instead of fostering a community that empowers people, teaches them the skills so that they can go off and continue life, you know, with these skills, bettering themselves, doing their own personal development. The guru makes it so that you're dependent on them. And you have to go to them for everything. You know, and with cults, it's usually you have to go to them because they're the only path to salvation. And so this one is very local to me, this Queen of Canada cult, not just because it's in Canada, but because it's actually in my backyard. Hello, Nani, good to see you. So I'm going to stop rambling and we will just get right into it. This is Romana Didulo. Look at her. What a patriot. One of the latest posts from her Telegram. The Kingdom of Canada. Let's put something into perspective. There are over 332 million Americans, and a third of that have guns, of which 19 million are trained soldiers, military veterans, not to mention the active forces. While Canada has 38 million people, 28 million adult-abled bodies with no guns, only farmers and hunters. Active duty officers are 105,000. What are the odds? We can start duck hunting in the morning. We're the ducks, by the way, the Canadians, in case you didn't catch that. And by mid-morning, Canada would be thoroughly cleaned. Let's not mention the firepower on land, sea, and sky I have backing me up. I won't even have to call in our international alliance forces. Don't you love numbers? Winky emoji, because she posts like a Hunbot. As you see, that got 40,000 views. She believes herself to be the Queen of Canada. At least she did, up until most recently when she started calling herself Queen of the World. Now she is not only Queen of Canada, she is actually Queen of every country. And she believes that her and the USA are going to take out everyone in every country. That is the goal. Unless you're a part of their cult and you are severely anti-vax and anti-government to the point of being a sovcit. Literally. Oh Lord, International Alliance? Yes. Most of her followers come from the USA. Even though she's Queen of Canada, and that's kind of how she became Queen of the World. That's kind of how that formed, I believe, for her. She was like, I'm over here, I'm calling myself Queen of Canada, but like a big portion of my following is not from Canada. So she was like, I'm actually just Queen of the World. You know what I mean? As long as we can get maple syrup, we'll even pay the tariff. It'll be all right. You won't be able to get access to aluminum. You won't be able to get access. I don't think the U.S. realizes how much stuff they actually get from Canada. Your oil's going to dry up. So you won't be able to go anywhere. All your cars will stop working eventually. I didn't vote for her. I don't remember voting for her either. So, in case you're unaware with who she is, this is the first time you've ever seen this woman or heard of her. You're probably like, oh, what the hell, you know? She was born November 1974, and she is known as a Filipino conspiracy theorist. She moved to Canada in 1990, and she is one of the most prominent figures of the QAnon movement, not only in Canada anymore, but all over the world. So that's problematic. She promotes other conspiracy theories, such as pseudo-legal concepts derived from the sovereign citizen movement. And here it's not called the sovereign citizen movement. We call it something else, and we'll get into that. Didulo came to prominence as a pretender, bad actor, whatever you want to call it, who proclaimed herself to be the Queen of Canada, and later, Queen of the World. She has a group of followers that travel with her, resulting in confrontations with local residents. Here she is, the Royal Majesty, Queen Romana Didulo. Okay, and this is from her website. She calls herself Commander-in-Chief of North America, Head of Government, Head of State, President, which we don't have here in Canada, so I guess that's for you guys in the US and elsewhere who have presidents. First Prime Minister. We only have one, but okay. National Indigenous Chief. Queen of the Kingdom of Canada. Queen of America. Queen of North America. Queen of the World. Which is funny to me because I'm like, is America and Canada not in the world? Just say Queen of the World, okay? It covers all places. Living crown, custodian of earth and humanity under natural law. You know? Like, what the hell? Hello, Heather. Good to see a fellow Canadian. I thought she went away. She's literally insane. That's the problem, right? Is that people don't report. Canada and USA is the world. Well, some people think the USA is the world. They don't travel much, I guess. She's queen of the solar system. That's right. Might as well throw that one in there, too. Why not? Queen of space. Now, maybe you don't know, but I've actually already done an entire deep dive on this woman and her cult, where we went into her entire belief system, what was going on at the time, basically when she first hit the headlines, and people outside of Alberta started hearing about who she was. I'm in Ontario. Like I said, I'm in Ottawa. So I wasn't aware that this was going on because it was very localized. And this is part of my issue with the coverage of cults. Like I said, unless something really big happens, they don't really care. The government doesn't care. The news people don't care. Journalists barely care. Do you know how many people I've been trying to get to cover the Love Has Won cult and what it's been doing since Amy Carlson has passed away? And I feel like I am the only person in the entire world that knows what's going on with it since then, because it's never reported on. No one ever talks about it. It's just like, it's like she passed away and then everyone went, all right, well, that's it. And I'm over here like, that's not how cults work. That's not how they work. You guys saw SEC shuts down the company. They just continue. So I don't know. Like, happened with Ash Mufara. People keep going. Okay, that's the end now. Now we're done. And I'm like, no. Cults don't just go, oh, the person passed away. That was our leader. Well, we must all just go our separate ways. They continue. So I did the whole deep dive in 2023. I have covered QAnon. I have covered the stuff that happened here in Ottawa when that was going on with the truck convoy, right? I have covered all of that. I have been covering the anti-vax community since 2019. I have been dove into all those views. I cover sovcits. I've covered flat earthers that are often also sovcits. It's very interesting how all these things connect. Cults, flat earth, conspiracy theories, all of it. And in 2024, near the end of 2024, I believe it would have been in October, not that long ago, we did an update because there had been some things going on. And I was like, somebody needs to be reporting on this. The scary part is she has a huge group of followers. Exactly. I remember your video and I couldn't wrap my mind around how some Filipino lady is QAnon, right? Exactly. And I know. It's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot. Coots come of all races, genders, etc. They do. But I think it's the QAnon cult tends to be rather racist. And a lot of people believe that racism is something that white people do. And that's unfortunately not the case. But again, especially in U.S. culture, in the culture of the U.S., even here a little bit, but again, more so there, it is very much like Black people can't be racist. If you're not white, you can't be racist. What people don't understand is that there's actually a lot of racism within these other races as well. They're often racist against each other. And that also needs to be discussed and talked about in a good educational way. Unfortunately, out here on YouTube, when it comes to political commentary, we are not given intelligent people who want to be insightful and actually make good political commentary. And if we are given them, they are not the people that get pushed up in the algorithm. It tends to be people like the Destinies and the Ethan Kleins and the Hassans and it gets worse and worse and worse as you go down the line, really. I could keep going. We could talk about all of the political channels. A lot of people go to Mr. Medicare himself for political commentary. And I am like, I don't know where your life went terribly wrong, but obviously somewhere. So we're not given the best coverage of these things, and everything is propaganda, is all about propaganda and rage bait and the spread of hate instead of education, conversation, advocating to actually fix this stuff and then making real change. That's what happens, and it makes me sad. But here we are. So there was an update. So if you're coming here and you're expecting me to do a whole deep dive into the cult and all the belief system, we've already done that. They haven't really changed. They still believe what they did in 2023. And don't worry, we do talk about it. We're just not going to like deep dive it today. So I don't know why my thing is being silly. Marc-Andre Argentino, a research fellow at the International Center for the Study of Radicalization and Political Violence, who has written several papers on the QAnon movement, told Vice World News influencers in the QAnon ecosystem have shown an uncanny capacity to raise unknown individuals to positions of influence in a very short period of time. Now, the QAnon, if you remember, was being run by somebody who went by Q. And it's no longer here. He's in jail. So in the absence of Q, influencers in QAnon ecosystems have taken on the mantle of determining what is canon or authoritative in these spaces, said Argentino. Though they may not always agree, they are able to bestow authority on random individuals. This makes for a volatile ecosystem, which expands radicalization pipelines in unpredictable ways. She is sending out all these cease and desist orders to stop these mask mandates and vaccine mandate crimes. And she's making it very clear that if you violate the crimes, you'll be executed, said one popular online QAnon influencer, because that's what we need in our world is QAnon influencers, in a video on Didulo that received over 30,000 views. That can get 30,000 views. When I'm speaking out against these systems and teaching you how to, protect your mind from being manipulated by these things, we don't get 30,000 views. Maybe I should start a cult that teaches you how to not be in a cult, and then I should act crazy, and then I could get views. What do you guys think? Think that could work for us? But this person said, God bless her. Canada needs somebody like that. I just want to remind you that Canada is not like the US in the sense that we don't have guns here. So it's even more kind of like jarring when someone is like, we need to execute people. Let's all get a bunch of guns as a group and go and take over a school. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, that's worrisome. We don't execute people here. Somebody comes in to rob my house, I can't even shoot them unless they are putting me in a life or death situation. If I shoot the robber, they don't consider it protecting my family here. They consider it murder. Why didn't you call the police, they'll say. So, it's worrisome to see people going, let's go and execute people. So here is an example. This is somebody that received one of these letters. And they were like, what the hell is going on? So you can see we are going back to 2021 because you need to know this information to get what's happening today. And they say, I can just imagine getting this and being like, what the hell? It's making me laugh because as you can see, the paper's ripped. So she got this, ripped it up and was like, fuck this lady. Which I don't blame. I don't blame you for doing that. I might have done it too. But then she was like, oh shit, I should probably share this. And then she like taped it back together, and I love it. But she says, we have anti-mask groups going around in Canada handing these cease and desist orders to businesses. Stupid is everywhere. What the fuck is this? Okay. Same in the UK. We can't use guns here. That's right. That's right. Canada is kind of like the America that likes the UK better. You know, because we're kind of like a mix of both countries in a weird way. You know, if you had to describe Canada, it's like, oh, you take like some stuff from the USA and then you take some stuff from the UK and then you got Canada. Throw in some natives in there, you're good, you know? And so it's hard to see the letter, but basically this is what it says, the main part of it. And she said it's effective. And I think it's funny that she thinks that she can just write a date there and be like, it will be effective on this day. Like, you don't have any. Anyway. I am the witness of the law, serving you a lawful document. Cease and desist order to stop immediately all unlawful COVID measures. We are now living in a sovereign republic of Canada. News to me. We are no longer in Canada Inc. Corporation. Your business is operating in the sovereign republic of Canada. Our newly appointed head of state, commander-in-chief, head of government of Canada, Romana Didulo, by lawful order requires that we resume our lives back to normal and open our businesses to full capacity. Now, this was 2021. Everything was shut down because of COVID, right? There was a mandate here, just like there was also in the US. And it was for public safety that they did this, right? So by lawful order requires that we resume our lives back to normal and open our business to full capacity. All former COVID-19 measures and restrictions are unlawful, unscientific, and unjust, and are therefore invalid, null, and void. Again, it's like, according to what law? Your law? Okay. This means no more pandemic lies. No more masks. No more social distancing. No more temperature taking. And I'm like, I don't remember people being forced to take temperatures, but okay. No more lockdowns. No more quarantine or self-imposed isolation. Funny coming from a woman that literally isolates several people in a compound, but what do I know? No more genocidal COVID vaccines. Again, miss, let's go and execute all of Canada. No vaccine passport and ID chip. Which, that the last part's a little worrisome because I'm like, huh? What? ID chip? If you still embrace any of the former COVID measures on any living, breathing man or woman, staff and customers, you are violating the universal human rights and are complicit in crimes against humanity. Imagine getting this. Lord. The funny thing is, a lot of people got this. I'll show you. Crimes against humanity and will be prosecuted by we the people, which is how this is signed. Military tribunal under natural law and common law, and by the head of state and commander-in-chief of Canada, Romana Didulo. Again, self-proclaimed. Like, imagine if somebody just showed up in the USA and they were like, they didn't get elected as president first and they weren't orange with yellow hair. And then they were like, I am the king of this whole place. You all listen to me now. Be like, what? The statements above are supported by we the people. Natural law and common law of the Sovereign Republic of Canada. Commander-in-Chief and the military of Canada. I'm like, news to them too. They had no clue. And 10,000 doctors of Canada. That makes me laugh. I love that. I'm like, did she ask her followers who was a doctor and then like count every single one like she did in attendance? And she decided that, you know, there were about 10,000 of them. How did we come to this number? That's a very bizarre thing to think about. But here we are. Everything's bizarre here today. And more than 100,000 doctors and nurses worldwide. Again, I would like to know how we came up with that data. And international tribunal judges. I'm like, again, could you tell us some names? Probably should be reporting these people. Please open your business to full capacity. Full capacity. No more COVID measures. You have been served. Like, no, actually, I haven't. Someone just knocked on my business and then handed this to me. That's not being served. Being served is when you have an actual officer of the court show up, and you usually have to sign for the document, right? It's a big thing. That way they can prove in the court, you know, that you've received it so that you can't not show up to the court and then be like, I never got it, you know? Take care, Joe. Some poor tree died so this garbage could be printed. It's true. It's very true. It's just, this is just so funny to me. And then again, it's signed We the People. And then they attached another little letter, which you don't need to read that whole thing. We're good. This was sent out to several people. Thousands and thousands of people had this sent out to them. All over Canada. All right? This is just one area. In order to facilitate the cease and desist effort, Didulo's followers have splintered off into localized chat groups. So now not only do we have her Telegram and them all hanging out there, now they have local chat groups as well, where they are organizing and serving as many notices as they can. Well, there have been groups created for each continent, and other countries like South Africa and Australia. Remember, I said you might be in Africa thinking, this isn't affecting me. QAnons, that's an American thing. I don't. Yet here we are. The effort is mainly localized, though, to Canada. Each province has its own Telegram group with hundreds of members. And while not every member is active, many of them are. This is a very limited list of the businesses this particular group, this one, said that they have sent cease and desists to. The number they're claiming is far larger than what is shown here. And as you can see, they're making lists where they're like, oh yeah, send them to this person and this person. So they're logging businesses. And then they're talking about they need to execute people that don't listen to their views. This is a victim log. If they decide to act out what they are planning, which we all hope that they never get that chance. But if we don't stop cults before they get the chance, then they all get the chance, you know? Vice World News viewed the groups for Alberta, Ontario, British Columbia, and Manitoba. Those are provinces in Canada. For those that are unaware, those are our versions of states. Each was extremely active, with users posting addresses after address of where they have sent the letters or are planning to send them. Some have even created spreadsheets that break the province down by town and business, which I just showed you, lists when the cease and desist was filed and by who, and in some cases, the name of the person who received it. The last thing you want to do is find out that your name has been put on this hit list, because that's what this is to me. This is people making hit lists. In Canada, the country without guns. Others posted videos of them going from store to store, handing out the notices. Many of the people who are actively organizing cease and desist efforts and celebrating imaginary executions do so under their real names. The members ran the gamut from electricians to real estate agents, to outdoor adventure guides, to, of course, people who run holistic health clinics. Many of them are elderly. Vice World News reached out to several people involved in these efforts, as well as online supporters of Didulo, to see just how much of her rhetoric they believed. But most did not respond. Hi, Violet. Good to see you. We're doing the Queen of Canada again. A follower of Didulo told Vice World News that seeing her being spoken about by these figures, and we'll get to some of them, confirmed to her she was legit and not a bullshitter. The legitimization. Oh, I have a doctor that follows me. So even though I have anti-vax views, obviously I know what I'm talking about. Because why would a doctor follow me with my anti-vax views if they weren't right? And there's a lot of that going on. You guys already know. The anti-vax, full of it. Full of it. You bring in holistic medicine, then you get the healers. All right? Just don't get me started. I'll end up on a rant. Right? So the woman who is active in helping hand out cease and desist notices in Alberta said she's attempted to talk to Didulo to confirm some of her claims, but was not able to contact her. Numerous attempts by Vice World News to contact her and people whom she previously worked with before declaring herself queen went unanswered. Again, people that she previously worked with before she declared herself queen. I mean, do you blame them? Would you come forward and be like, yeah, she was one of my friends? Probably not. I'm just, I'm kind of like, yeah, they're probably embarrassed that they ever knew this woman. Maybe they're scared of getting blamed for her psychosis, because a lot of people are questioning how she got this far. Like, how do you get this far believing that you are this person to this QAnon anti-vax group and call yourself the queen of the world? Like something a lot of people think, and I might be amongst them, something had to have happened to her mental health somewhere along the way. And so some people want to reach out to be kind of like, hey, when you knew her before all of this, what was it like? And that seems like a really great idea, and I understand it. I would love to do that as well. But again, you have to understand that to them, they're like, I'm not going to be the person that she slipped through the cracks of at the same time. And especially with the way that people treat each other out here. Okay? People fair game people very easily on the internet now. Fair gaming is now a mainstream thing that people just do to people. They'll be like, oh, you're connected to this person I don't like. We're now destroying your entire life, getting you fired from your job, making it so that you'll never be able to be in public ever again, without people throwing stuff at you. And so they don't want to be a part of that. They don't want to be known as the person that speaks out against her either, because they're horrified, especially living in Canada. They could be in her backyard still. Maybe she still has access to these people. And they're like, I'm not getting executed. That's a real thing. And so unfortunately, it can be hard to find out information about people like this. Here in Canada, we have stricter privacy laws. It's not like in the US where when I'm researching one of the scammers there, I can just type their name into Google and then up pops every single piece of publicly available information I can find. I can even look at your rental history and everything. Canada doesn't really have that ability. If you've got access to somebody's files here in Canada and you've blasted them out publicly, you are actually breaking the law. You could get very, very much in trouble. Not just because that person could then privacy strike you, but actually in trouble by the Canadian government, saying that you've broken their laws on media by sharing out information that's protected by our Privacy Act. You need to keep these things in mind when covering Canadians. That was more for my haters, that little part. But what I'm saying is because of that, I can't just go and Google her name and get all this personal information about her. Makes it a little bit more difficult for me to understand who she is as a person. I can only go based upon who she is today. I can't tell you who she was before now, and that's why maybe people are seeking this information. Hello, Baron. Good to see you. It's a good thing because it protects us, but then it's a bad thing because then it also makes it hard for us to protect ourselves. You see, it's a double-edged sword, as things tend to be. Unfortunately. So according to Vice World News, an elementary school was targeted by her followers who arrived on scene to distribute anti-vaccine information while classes were taking place. Businesses across the country have reported seeing letters in the mail or hand-delivered to their door. Monitoring of the cease and desist group shows hundreds of letters sent out to public and private institutions. The latest call, however, is an escalation. To our duck hunters, brothers and sisters in the U.S., Didulo wrote in November of 2021, U.S. and Canada have the longest unpatrolled borders in the whole world. She's saying if you're in the U.S. and you have guns, you know what to do to Canada. So if you thought that Donald Trump was starting a war between Canada and the USA, I mean, she's just helping, I guess. Didulo's political party, which she dubbed the Canada First Party of Canada. Yeah, it's called the Canada First Party of Canada. How redundant, right? Claims on its website that they are not part of or beholden to the corrupt and inhumane globalists, communists, NWO, UN, Great Reset. I'm not aware of what that is. 2021-2030 agenda. And takes familiar cues from various far-right populist groups over the last few years, such as the Yellow Vests and other conspiracy-based online movements. Many of her followers do not appear to be located in Canada, and her initial endorsements come from prominent British and American QAnon content creators. There you go, UK, there you are. Of those in Canada, one appears to be Gabriel Prulx. I don't know if I'm saying his last name. We'll call him Gabriel. Gabriel is a member of the Ontario Provincial Police, the OPP. Though he has said in the past he is on medical leave. And he has recently taken to appearing on conspiracy-laden live streams promoting pseudo-legal strategy that, among other things, denies the ability of the police to enforce the law. On an encrypted chat room run on the same app, Didulos, as Didulos, so Telegram, I'm assuming, Gabriel's profile photo uses the Canada First Party's official flag. He did not respond to a request for comment, which I'm not surprised about. This is Gabriel here. If you are watching this from my Facebook and you are local to me, you want to know this face, learn this face. It's important. So basically, this man got in very big trouble for discreditable conduct in the OPP. He appeared on multiple live streams with sovcits and people that were in the QAnon movements. He's been at this for a long time, this man. And the reason why sovereign citizenship is explained here different ways, because like I said, we don't call it sovcits here. So it's explained as a pseudo-legal strategy that, among other things, denies the ability of the police to enforce the law. A current member of the Ontario Provincial Police, he is facing disciplinary procedures for an incident that occurred in a public park on April 17, 2021 in Belleville, Ontario. When a public works employee asked a group of parents to disperse from the park to comply with COVID measures at the time, an off-duty officer in the area reports observing numerous persons surrounding the employee. And that's according to an internal OPP document posted online by Christopher James Pritchard, who is the host of the Sovereign Citizen live stream, A Warrior Calls. Pritchard is a sovereign citizen influencer who has been documented giving legal advice to adherents of the COVID-19 conspiracy movement. Here in Canada, it's not called sovcit. We don't really have that. We might now. I don't know. It might have kind of come over. But here, there's an actual term for when you do this. It's called organized pseudo-legal commercial arguments. Your OPCA. You're making OPCAs. Or legal gibberish, as some judges describe it. OPCA, OPCA, litigants generally believe that laws don't apply to them, or sometimes in tandem. They claim to operate their own vigilante legal system that takes precedence over the traditional court system. The term was coined in 2012 by Alberta Judge John Rook in an exasperating divorce case where the husband was trying to argue that he was really two separate entities. The corporate identity that was attached to his birth certificate and the flesh and blood man who was governed only by God's law, the maximus of law. The term and Rook's point-by-point repudiation of OPCA tactics has since been adopted by courts as the gold standard in Canada and in other Commonwealth countries. He described organized pseudo-legal commercial arguments as a strategy used by certain groups. Detaxers, freemen on the land, sovereign citizens, for example, to deny state and court authority. Now we're getting back to Gabriel. It was a Saturday, the first day of a controversial and short-lived directive by Doug Ford's government ordering outdoor playgrounds to close as a third wave of COVID infections took hold. As city workers tried to enforce the regulation, Gabriel and some other parents became confrontational and refused to remove their children from the play area. These parents do not care if they put their own children at risk for their views. That is worrisome. According to news reports and the OPP's misconduct charge notice to Gabriel, Belleville City Police arrived at the park and another confrontation took place. According to the OPP's allegations, Gabriel and some of their other parents that were there, they attempted to intimidate the city police officers and made threatening comments. That arresting them was not an option and would not go as planned. In other words, he was using the fact that he was connected to the OPP to be like, you can't arrest me, I can do whatever I want. Which you never want a cop that thinks that he can do whatever he wants. And if anyone's ever been a cop and they ever say to you, listen, I've been a cop, therefore I am the utmost authority on this, be very, very wary of that person. Just be very wary. In September, Gabriel sent the OPP a trespass notice intended to read as a list of charges, a common tactic used by OPCA litigants. In the rambling 6-page document addressed to several of the OPP's top brass, he rhymed off a number of COVID conspiracies, such as COVID has never been purified or isolated in a lab, while vaccines and lockouts are a genocide. Very interesting. But a judge will send both yourselves to jail if you commit a crime that merits it. You don't get 2 cells. That's right. So Nuremberg trials are coming given graphene oxide, a verified poison, exists in these vaccines, Gabriel stated. Gabriel's actions in September led to a new complaint launched by the OPP alleging he had sent unsolicited emails to high-ranking OPP officials. The complaint also states that he is being investigated for online social media interviews where he allegedly made disparaging comments towards members of the Canadian government and further denounced the laws of Canada by referencing that the Canadian laws do not apply to him. Your continued and ongoing off-duty behavior has brought the reputation of the OPP into disrepute, according to the OPP's complaint letter. He is now facing 2 counts of discreditable conduct, and a hearing date has not yet been set. Unfortunately. This man is fighting his charges with the help of Christopher James Pritchard. That's right, the same guy from before. Of Burlington. Described by an Alberta judge as one of the leading Canadian gurus of the OPCA movement. So again, here in Canada, it's the OPCA movement, not the sovcits movement. Gabriel and Pritchard did not respond to repeated requests for comment. Last June, a BC court permanently banned Pritchard, who is not a lawyer, from acting as a lawyer in BC, British Columbia, following an application made by the province's Law Society. Right? No, Daniel, they will not kill you. Hope you're being sarcastic. The Law Society of Ontario indicated Pritchard is not a registered lawyer or paralegal in Ontario and declined to say if he is under investigation. Here in Ontario, If you pretend that you are a paralegal or a lawyer, even online, Hecate's daughter, then you can actually be reported to the Law Society of Ontario. Doesn't matter if you're a member of theirs or not at the time. You can end up with criminal charges for that if you are using it to claim authority in anything, really. So be careful with that. Don't be doing that. So don't want to get caught. But they've declined to say if he's under investigation. If you go to this man's website, you find a library of videos, including one with the title littered with anti-Semitic tropes, and another titled Vaccines Are Satan's Death. A whole section of the site is devoted to Louis Farrakhan, the controversial leader of the Nation of Islam, described as anti-Semitic and homophobic. In 2019, Facebook banned him for violating its policies on hateful speech. This is why you don't want to be connected to the anti-vaxxers. It's actually the anti-vax community that wants to kill you. Okay? And all your children. I promise you, vaccines did not give me my autism. And if you believe that I have autism because my parents vaccinated me, you are the problem, not the vaccines. We didn't even know I had autism until recently, so you can't even say that. All right? So these things tend to attach to people. Daniel, I have very, very heavily looked into all of the vaccines. Do you also not brush your teeth? Because you are worried about the fluoride in the water, even though there's more fluoride in the toothpaste that you should be using every day to keep your teeth healthy. Because you don't want to have them all pulled out of your mouth like I'm going through right now. Not that I didn't keep my teeth healthy, but even if you keep your teeth fucking healthy, have braces for 3 years and brush your teeth 4 times a day your entire life, you can still lose them. So there is no way for them to change your DNA. There is no way. Biology says you're wrong. It literally cannot change your DNA. Nothing can change your DNA. It's your DNA. All right? It's your scientific makeup. It's not going to change. Graphene oxide is a real compound used in water purification, energy storage, and composite material tech. Nothing to do with vaccines or COVID, though. That's right. You cannot let people fearmonger you into believing what they want you to believe because they want to control your mind. You know? You know what I'm saying? So, if you want to be attached to anti-vaxxers and you want to go and be anti-Semitic and you want to go and start shooting Canadians, don't go near me. I'm in Canada, bro. I'll start taking up arms to fight you people. So this person's website hosts a wild mix of pseudo-law postings and lengthy video commentaries. And again, there's a short video featuring Holocaust denier David Irving. And this is why, because once you go into one conspiracy theory, then you're attached to all of them all of a sudden. It's like a long, long chain, you know? You don't know what you're attaching yourself to in these groups, or who, or what belief systems are actually pushing them. They know you're going to try to figure it out, so they'll lie to you. It's funny because all these people that are anti-government, they're always so paranoid, but they don't actually do any of the work to find out how to protect themselves from this manipulation. Right? Like, I became a mom 11 years ago. And if you don't think that I didn't have a whole bunch of people telling me at that time that I shouldn't vaccinate my daughter in case she got autism, then you'd be wrong. And if you think that I didn't go and research the fuck out of every single ingredient in every single vaccine before I allowed it to go into my daughter, then you don't know me. Like, straight up, you just don't know me then. You don't know how my brain works and how I literally have to research every single thing to do with everything, and then everything attached to it, and then everything attached to that, and then everything attached to that, until I feel like I have enough information to make an educated decision on my own. You know what I'm saying? Right? There is no such thing as an internal antenna. And it has nothing to do with the 5G internet. You're not trying to help. You are a part of the problem. You are spreading the misinformation and you are believing it. And then you are in my chat trying to spread it. And I'm somebody who actively has spoken out against all of these things, who has spent hours upon hours of researching these topics. And then you're saying, well, I watched a video on Facebook that told me that I should be scared of this. And I believed it. All right. People on Facebook are saying that this stuff is dangerous. The 50-year-olds on Facebook or the boomers are saying, watch out. The boomers are the ones that made the vaccines. What are you talking about? But it's not helping, you know? So vaccines are Satan's death means that vaccines kill Satan. You would think so. But to them, it's like, that's a bad thing. Which is funny because the QAnon belief system is, they're also the ones that are like, the government is being controlled by a bunch of Satan-worshipping pedophiles. Which is why when, like, the Epstein thing happened, it was like, oh, shit. You know, because, like, sometimes things are going on in our world where it's like, yeah, you know, they might have been right about part of this. It's just everything else surrounding it that they're wrong about. It's like, is there some people in government that you guys need to be weary of? Yes. Including the people that keep making MLMs legal over and over again. And the Scientologists that run pretty much your entire country if you're in the US. So if you're out here and you're like, oh my God, the vaccines are going to kill us, wait until you find out about the child traffickers that are running your country. You'll be real pissed off then. It's like, yeah, there's things that you guys should be worried about, but you're always worried about the wrong thing to do with it. Like, you're like, oh my God, there's a pedophile out there. And he's supported by the government. Oh my God, that means that they're all Satan-worshipping people, and then we have to be anti-vax, and we have to go shoot up all of Canada. And it's like, whoa, hold up. Fucking relax for a minute. Yes, there are pedophiles in your government. They more have to do with Scientology. Look into it. I promise you, if you get rid of cults, you get rid of coercive control, and you get rid of the propaganda, that is the start. Do that first. And then you can fix your country. This is close to home for me. Very close to home for me. This stuff with Gabriel. So close to home that there's some things circled on the screen right now. This is Google Maps. You are going to notice there's Kingston, Ontario. And then on the other end, there's Belleville, Ontario. About right in the middle, you're going to see Napanee, Ontario. And I've also circled Camden East for you. I grew up living on the road. My parents don't live there anymore. Don't go trying to look up this address to send the cops there. It's been they sold the house, then those people sold the house. The people living there do not know me. They do not know I exist. But I grew up on the road that connects Napanee to Camden East. That's where I grew up my entire life until I was 17 and I moved to Kingston. That's when I went out on my own. If you notice, Belleville, where Gabriel is from, and also a lot of his buddies, he has some friends, is very, very close to me and where I grew up. Very, very close. To the point that we would go to Belleville sometimes on a weekend for a festival or something. You know, we could kind of go to Kingston. It's about a half an hour away. Belleville was, you know, close to the same. We were kind of right in the middle of it. So I've spent a lot of time in Belleville. Very close to home for me. So whenever you're thinking, hey, this call and their weird conspiracy theories have nothing to do with me, it'll never affect me, it'll never affect my life. There are people that I know right now from my hometown that are following this that actually have the same belief system. They haven't realized that they've joined a cult. I went to school with these people, and I've had to spend the last 6 years, as I'm speaking out about cults every single day, watching people in my real life still fucking fall for them. Imagine how frustrating that is. It's like you literally have, you know, an anti-cultist. What is wrong with you? How are you not educated on this? I speak about it every day. But again, there are some people in our world, they don't want to learn. They don't want to know about the world and how it can better and have anything to do with trying to better it or anything, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. You can't save everybody, even in your own life. There's a reason why if you're a therapist, you cannot be a therapist to your friends and family. Sometimes they don't listen to you because they know you. Right? Unfortunately. So, stay woke, stay educated, stay skeptical, stay safe. This man went looking for a fight at that park with his kids that day. And that really pissed me off. How dare you? Like, go, you know, like, okay, you're a parent. Your job is to protect your children from any harm or anything bad happening to them. You know that you're not allowed to go to the park because of the COVID mandate. So you in your head go, I'm going to then take my child to the park to create a problem. And then when they, you know, the people that run the park are like, you guys have to leave. And then they call the cops there. We're going to do a big fight in the park over it. Yeah, let's go bring our kid to that. Using your kid as an excuse to go and fight police officers at a park because you want to spread your crazy COVID-19 conspiracy theories is insane. You are now putting your own family members in danger for your cult belief. You know? Oh, no, they don't, Tanya. No, they don't. Stop that. If you want to go be a conspiracy theorist, then go be one. But you're in the wrong place. You're being lied to. You're being lied to and you're being controlled so much that you're in my chat trying to spread this shit. Go get some help, dude. Go see a therapist. So he heard that the parks would be off limits on that day and was still like, you know what, though? I'm going to take my kid there. And the thing is, like, okay, fine, you take your kid there because you're not really sure I'm sure some parents did that just because they were like, sorry, I wasn't aware. But then when they're told, they go, oh, okay. And they take their kid, they go home. You don't grandstand at the park with your minor children. I'm assuming they're minors because you're taking them to the park, right? Like even my daughter barely goes to the park anymore. And she's 10, like they grow out of the whole like, let's go to the park thing when they start getting into those years, So your kid's probably 10 or under and you're taking them to go do that. So what happens when you get arrested? Is your kid just, then the CAS comes? That's fine with you? Like, good job protecting your kid, Dad. Real good. Dad of the year right here. Gabriel from Belleville, Ontario, Canada. Good job. Lord. You ever see this man run the other way? In October of 2023, the RCMP set up a 24/7 temporary mobile detachment in Richmond. And this was after there were reports of assaults, threats, and suspicious activity going on in this very, very teeny, tiny town. A 61-year-old Richmond man with ties to this cult, basically, had multiple criminal charges following a confrontation with police. On July 18th, Leader RCMP were called to assist municipal personnel at a property in the village when an altercation broke out. Ricky Mans, who is the man that owns the school that the cult was using as their compound, was arrested after allegedly assaulting officers and resisting arrest. So this happened this year. This just happened not long ago. And he is set to go to court September 18th. So you can see the date of this recording, which if you don't know what's going on the outside of the fence there is the police trying to get into the compound. July 18th, 2025. That's Ricky with the black jacket on and the blue hat on the inside here of the compound. We're telling him back up. Come on, Ricky. This officer's like, I'll hop the fence. I'll hop the damn fence then. If you're not opening up. And then after that, they got into a bigger altercation. That footage has not been released to the public because, like I said, we're a little bit more private over here in Canada. But there it is. So again, he's scheduled to appear in Leader Circuit Court on September 18th. On July 15th, the village of Ridgemount announced its office would be operating by appointment only, citing ongoing harassment and intimidation of staff. A resolution passed by council cited obligations under the Saskatchewan Occupational Health and Safety, OH&S, and Employment Standards Acts, which require employers to provide a safe and respectful working environment for all employees. Here it is here. Notice to the public. Due to ongoing harassment and intimidation of staff, the Village of Ridgemount Council has passed a resolution that is effective immediately. The village office will be open by appointment only, except during council meetings. This action has been taken to ensure compliance with OH&S and Employment Standards Acts, which require employers to provide a safe and respectful working environment for all employees. And this was the same thing that was shutting down businesses here in Ottawa during the truck convoy. Businesses had to start shutting down because they were unable to provide a safe environment for employees. Because when they were going to work, the people in the truck convoy, many of them who actually are a part of this, were actually abusing the workers trying to get into work that day. They took up a big, large portion of our downtown area, one of the main streets of businesses in Ottawa. So lots of people were showing up there to go to work. And lots of places had to shut down. And that's in Ottawa. This tiny town doesn't even have 190 people. They say, we appreciate your cooperation and understanding as we take necessary steps to protect our staff and maintain a safe workplace. And they give you the information to book an appointment. And right here is one of the residents of this town that is holding up a protest sign. And honestly, I've loved to see it. The coolest thing about this has been seeing the community come together to do protests. I love me a good anti-cult protest. When I'm not hanging out here with you guys, a lot of times my background noise is the Scientology protests. If I need background noise, if I'm doing some research or something, oftentimes it is the Scientology protests. I live for these types of protests. And as you can see, her sign says, royal decrees are lying disease. So I love it. Hours later, the village disabled social media comments, saying it was necessary due to ongoing incivility and disrespectful tone in comments on our social media posts. Didulo, a QAnon conspiracy leader from the Philippines, and her supporters moved into the abandoned school in September 2023 after being pushed out of CAMSAC. And we covered all that. Village of Ridgemount residents held protests when the group arrived, and since they've held a few of them. Their presence has divided the community of approximately 147 people in this community. I'm not saying 14700. I'm not saying 147,000. I am talking about a very rural community with not even 150 residents. And now their children no longer feel safe going to a nearby playground. And as you can imagine, there aren't many playgrounds in this community. They took over an old school. So one of the few playgrounds that this community had was kind of attached to it. It's like right next door. You don't want to be outside of a cult compound with your kids playing at the park. Well, this woman's inside with a whole bunch of people, who knows what weapons they have, talking about how they should execute people. You just don't. We have a similar small town problem that the US has, where we have a lot of rural small towns. They don't have big police presence. You know, there's maybe one cop there for all 147 residents, you know? what the hell are they supposed to do when this happens? I mean, Scientology took over the whole block in LA. Like, what do we do, you know? Yeah, the kids need their park and to feel safe, right? Exactly. Tensions escalated when Didulo's group allegedly issued death threats against village officials, emergency responders, and journalists. The RCMP were forwarded emails and social media posts warning of publicly broadcast executions for those who failed to cease and desist. Remember, she already sent out the letters. Yesterday, on September 3rd, there was this post being posted very, very, very early. Very early. She was updating her lovely links on her Telegram. As you can see, she has the big no trespassing sign. And this school has been all boarded up with a fence for 2 years now. They've been in there since 2023. The closest the cops got was during that altercation that I showed you. That's the closest they've gotten, and then they were able to arrest him. But there wasn't much that they could do about her. You know? They tried to send in the fire department at one point because they were able to find out that the people, you know, the cult members were all breaking a lot of fire laws. The same sort of thing. So they showed up and they were like, hey, stop breaking these laws. And then they go, all right. And then they have to leave because it's private property. It's no longer like the school property run by, you know, their village. It's now private property owned by Ricky. So if he says you can't come in, no, I'm not letting you in, and you don't have a reason to go in, you know, it's a hard one. And the threats it's a hard thing, threats here. Okay? It's weird. It's like they're illegal, but then you have to like really do a whole bunch of them directed at certain people in order for like law enforcement to care about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like if I call law enforcement and I'm like, someone just threatened my life, they're going to be like, okay, well, are they around you? And if I'm like, no, then they'll be like, okay, so then how are you in danger? Like that's kind of like how it goes. Since we don't have guns here, even being told like, hey, these people are coming to execute you, a lot of times, you know, the cops are kind of like, okay, well, we're the ones with the guns. So like, you know what I'm saying? Like it takes a lot. It takes a lot. I wish that we could just start sending the FBI and RCMP and all these organizations into every single cult compound. Arrest the people running the damn thing, pulling people out. Problem is, religion is protected. So there is no law that says that if a religion is harmful to the public and to its members, then we should be allowed to dismantle it. Because it's so protected. That is one of the biggest issues that our community faces, advocating against cults. Well, it's just a religion. Why are you attacking religion? No, it's not a religion in my eyes if there's a leader and their main goal is to harm people. How is that a religion? That sounds like terrorism to me. But anyway, unfortunately, the RCMP couldn't do much. But at 4:30 a.m. CST, 16 people, including the Queen of Canada, were arrested. In southwestern Saskatchewan, there's the school surrounded by the police. Followers of her who have promoted various conspiracy theories set up a Kingdom of Canada compound in an old school in Richmond, west of Regina, in 2023. Which, yep. Yep, that's it. Ashley St. Germain said Mounties learned last week that a person was in possession of a firearm at the property and a police operations team was organized. So it isn't until we hear that someone has a gun on the property and they're threatening execution, then it's like, oh, maybe we should actually care now. A search warrant was executed. See, because you need that in order to get the search warrant. You know what I mean? You can't be like, we just want to go in there and stop them from tormenting this entire city of 147 people. They're like, yeah, no, we don't care. You know? So 16 were arrested in the building. There were 8 recreational vehicles parked at the site and at a home in the village. And this was the press conference here, which took place yesterday afternoon. So St. Germain said an RCMP got a report on August 25th of one of the building's occupants possessing a firearm. And that led to the raid. A team of skilled and experienced senior officers was established to oversee this large and complex operation, she said. More than 30 police vehicles from multiple jurisdictions, including 2 tactical vehicles, were at the scene. 1 second, guys. All right, sorry, guys. So, 4 replica handguns were found, she said. Investigators continue to collect evidence and conduct interviews. But so far, no charges have been laid. Legally, we have 24 hours to either lay a charge, have a person before the courts, or release them. If we release individuals without charges, that doesn't mean that they may not be charged down the road. It just means the 24 hours is up. What that means is we potentially don't have enough evidence to charge them right now. Mounties also previously charged the owner of the property with assaulting 2 officers, which again, that's what you saw. St. Germain said RCMP were aware of past issues with the compound, but couldn't go into the building until they had enough evidence to obtain a search warrant. Now, people in this small town saw them marching up and down streets almost like they were militia or something, like being like, I own this road. The residents are being threatened and attacked. It becomes frustrating because it's like, what evidence do you need for a search warrant into it? Like, is it not enough that they have literally made 147 people living in this rural town fear for their lives? Like, that's not enough for a search warrant, Canada? That's worrisome, being Canadian. So you're telling me that if somebody comes over and they take over a building next door to me, and then they come to over here every single day and harass, then there's nothing that anyone can do? Cults can just come and take over full schools and cities in Canada, and you need enough evidence for a search warrant to stop that? Worrisome. I can't speak to the specifics of how this particular complaint came in, she said. There is investigational integrity that I have to respect in that court process. Ooh, I double-clicked by accident. Unfortunately, there were 3 dogs on the property, and they were seized in good condition and taken to a shelter. So if you're in that area and you want to have a dog, go get a dog. Fire safety officials also are investigating because modifications were made to the building. The RCMP could potentially put conditions on people not to go back to the building, St. Germain said. However, no charges have been laid, and those conditions cannot be laid unless somebody is under a court process. St. Germain said she couldn't identify the others who were arrested. Didulo live streamed her arrest in a video and identified herself. I expect that some of those people are associated to the Kingdom of Canada, but I don't have confirmation at this point on the details. The video shared on social media shows officers in tactical gear and bursting into a room where Didulo is standing. Leave the phone down. Imagine you're just standing in there and then all of a sudden that happens. The cops come in. Leave the phone down. You're under arrest.
Leave the phone down. You're under arrest.
All right.
The RCMP arrest of the woman who calls herself the Queen of Canada, captured by her own phone during a live stream.
Down on the ground, please.
And that's what it looks like now. After the raid. It's had tape blowing in the wind.
Leave the phone down. You're under arrest.
All right.
The RCMP arrest of the woman who calls herself the Queen of Canada, captured by her own phone during a live stream.
Down on the ground, please.
Down on the ground, please. Ooh. This here is Vanessa Johnson. And she's one of the residents who has just been getting basically tortured by this cult in their school. Johnson said the news is a huge relief for a small community that has felt frustrated and scared. Again, they've basically taken over a small Canadian community. Okay, I'm not in a third world country. I'm in fucking Canada. What do you mean a cult can just come in here and torment an entire community? And there's nothing that the residents can do? Well, we need to change some things, I think, so that this can't happen again. I mean, how big does the community have to be in order for them to care? Should it matter? These are all questions we need to start asking ourselves as Canadians. What if they decided to come take over your house, your neighborhood? What if they took up your park? Do you feel safe being a Canadian resident right now, knowing that this can go on and there is nothing that you will be able to do? Even if you call the police, they will show up and say, just ignore them. That's horrifying. I'm just saying. And some people might be like, oh, well, it's just like this little QAnon cult. Yeah, that's all cults can do that now. I mean, why doesn't the Scientology Center just start building blocks in Toronto? What's stopping them then? Scary. Do you want your children to get trafficked by a cult? Do you want your grandchildren to get trafficked by a cult? Because apparently, if they come for your city, there's nothing that you'll be able to do. And that's not just in Canada. Again, Scientology owns an entire block in LA. About 3 of them all together. They're building a mini city there. And I know that the Danny Masterson's case is not still in the news like it used to be, but it should still be important. You should all be horrified at the thought that these cults can actually attack you in your living room and then actually come and take over your city, and there's nothing you'd be able to do about it. Vanessa Johnson, this amazing resident of Richmond, said that the raid came as a surprise. We didn't really know that anything was going to happen because they were left. Nobody cared. Oh, well, you're just a small rural community. Who cares? Johnson said she was flooded with calls about the news and went to go witness the event. She said the RCMP's report about replica guns doesn't surprise her. Ended up being replicas. One of the cult leaders was walking up and down my street, which is quite a bit, she said. They really have talked about shooting people, bringing boots on the ground. Our spirits are so lifted. I feel so happy. This is the best day of my life. This woman is so relieved after 2 years straight of her little small town being tortured by this group of QAnon anti-vax conspiracy theorists, that the day that they get raided is seen as the best day of her life. Wow. I want you to concentrate on the fact that these people were left with no resources. They were told, just put up with it. We don't care if she's threatening you guys walking up and down streets. We don't care that you can't take your kids to the park anymore. We don't care that school just started and you had to walk your kid to school and probably pass that old school to get to the school that you're going to now. With them all threatening. Walking up and down that street, all around the fence and everything. Yelling at people. They were left there for 2 full years of that. Of them calling police. Calling their police official. Can you help us? No. Can't do anything. Sorry. Awful. Awful situation to be in. So it's a good thing that she got arrested. I'm happy about it. Let's watch it again. Let's watch it again.
Leave the phone down. You're under arrest.
All right.
The RCMP arrest of the woman who calls herself the Queen of Canada, captured by her own phone during a live stream.
Down on the ground, please.
Look how he said please even. In Canada, we're just so polite. Even at our raids, we're like, down on the ground! Please! So this is where I come at you with the bad news. For how long? Yeah, that's the bad news. So they can only hold them for 24 hours. After 24 hours, if they can't find something to charge them with, they let them go. Where do you think they're going to go if they get released? Right back to that school. There is a city in Richmond right now that is literally being left to their own devices to deal with this cult, and the world isn't helping them. Nobody is helping them. The RCMP just did a raid now. Why does it take 2 years for this? These are the things you should be asking about. Stop arguing over what's racist on Twitter and start doing some real advocacy to help people and change the damn world, would you? Because there's 147 people that are being left having to deal with this cult. And if they don't find anything by 4:30 in the morning, we're fucked. We're fucked. Tomorrow morning, all of them will be gone, out of jail. It goes from when they were booked. So if they got arrested yesterday morning, I'm thinking hopefully they didn't book them until later and they try to make it last a little while. So fuck, they could be getting released right now. They'd be sitting with a judge right now while I'm doing this live stream. They could be getting told, hey, listen, you guys get to go home today now. Their home is at school. And what happens, unfortunately, is that then they get excited because then they think that they won. Now they really own the town, right? So let's talk about why all of this matters. First, I want to take a moment. I want to talk about patterns seen in cults, extremist cells, and these sovcit movements. Isolation from society. Members live communally in remote or closed-off spaces. Now, oftentimes people think you have to have a commune in order to have a cult. Well, these guys they do communes. So there you go. Physical separation reinforces ideological separation. Example, compounds used by groups like the Branch Davidians or certain militia encampments. Charismatic, unquestionable leader. Leader claims divine mandate, royal title, or secret government authority, or hell, all the above if you're the Queen of Canada. Followers see them as the sole source of truth. Similar to Jim Jones from the People's Temple, let's go to Guyana, like Marty said, that guy, or David Koresh from Waco. Totalistic control over members' lives. Dictates on finances, housing, healthcare. You're not allowed to get vaccines. And even language. Followers discouraged or forbidden from outside employment or contact with family, especially if your family's vaccinated. Doesn't believe in the QAnon stuff, then they're no good. An us versus them worldview. Outsiders, especially government, media, and law enforcement, are framed as corrupt or illegitimate. Creates a siege mentality that justifies extreme actions. There's an apocalyptic or mission narrative. Red flag. Urgency to act before an imagined collapse, invasion, or mass awakening. Used to justify breaking laws or severing ties with society. Then, of course, family, friends, etc., right? So, information control. Followers rely on leader-approved channels like Telegram for all their news. Maybe a back office called the OES. Outside sources dismissed as fake or enemy propaganda. Liars, haters, naysayers, evil tyrants, insects, bimbos. That crazy bitch, I've been called many things. I bet they have guns somewhere, even if they're not at that particular compound. The people in the U.S. that follow them all have the guns, and she's called many times for them to get their guns and come here. So, that's also, you would think, would be a terroristic threat, but what do I know, So I want to talk about the broader implications of this arrest. It should show you that domestic radicalization is real. Extremist ideologies can grow inside Canada, not just be imported. I know that this one may be a little bit slightly imported, but don't think that they're all coming from the US either. Canadian symbols and narratives are being co-opted to recruit followers. Rural communities like Richmond, which, according to the website, they have a population of about 118. And it can be overwhelmed by the arrival of insular high-control groups. Local tensions escalate quickly when outsiders refuse to integrate. There's law enforcement challenges. Police must balance public safety with constitutional rights to free speech and assembly. Raids actually risk escalating tensions if followers see them as proof of persecution. Like I said, it's even worse if after the 24 hours is up, they're released back to go home and are told, okay, we're not pressing any charges right now, because they take that as we won against the police. It's like Ash Mufara's only God can stop us. God can't stop us now, It's like they're going to come back to that school going, now not even the RCMP can stop us. They can't charge us. We can do whatever we want now. And then the people in this small town are actually in greater danger than ever. They're in as much danger of death as a woman leaving an abusive relationship. Except it's every single person in that small town. And for some reason, Canada is like, it's cool, I'll be fine. Social media platforms like Telegram act as incubators for radicalization. So does Twitter right now. Digital echo chambers can mobilize people into real-world standoffs. People say it's only on the internet, it's not in real life, but more than once I've seen the internet become real life. I've seen the internet and that get weaponized against people. I've seen the internet become real life. I've had the internet go real life on me. And then when I was like, hey, what the hell was that? Keep it on the internet. They went, well, everything is on the internet. It is only the internet. So why don't you just log off, Same sort of thing. Same sort of thing can be done. To understand that, as I keep trying to say on here, It's not the missionaries knocking at your door anymore that you have to be weary of. It's the people that you might come across while you're just scrolling on TikTok, scrolling on YouTube. We have TikTok cults right now. Do you know how many communities on this YouTube platform I have been a part of myself personally that I would consider to be a high control group? Almost every single one that you've ever seen me in. That's scary. So they're on here. They're in your living room. There is a public safety that is more of a risk than weapons, okay? Even without real firearms, threats, intimidation, financial ruin, destabilize communities. Followers have lost homes, vehicles, and relationships due to leaders' decrees in this very, very specific sovcit movement. Because they think they don't have to follow I don't gotta pay property tax. I'm a sovcit. Well, then you lose your house. And they go, what the hell? How am I losing my house? What's going on? What the... You know? And do you think the cult then gets them a new house? Like, no. There is a great need for public awareness. Recognizing warning signs early can prevent recruitment and harm. We're trying to reach people before they get recruited. Education on cult tactics. Something I've been dedicating the past 6 years of my life to, helps communities resist manipulation. I wish that we had a cult SWAT team. That there was like a group of us, and every time that a cult came to take over a town like this, we would all show up as advocates, and we would come in and show everyone what to do to get through it and blah, blah, blah. But I ain't a millionaire, so I can't make it happen. You know, like Scientology tries to build another building, and there's like a militia that shows up, and they're like, you're not allowed to build here, cult. You shall not pass, cult. You know, that it would be beautiful, but can't do that, I guess. You know, breaking laws and stuff. But the thing is that high control groups don't just exist in history books or far off countries. Even though we do talk about a lot of them that exist in far off countries, and they do exist there. They exist right now in your living room. They adapt to local contexts, exploit online platforms and your trust in them, and can cause real harm here at your home. You are not safe. Even in your own house, I'm not safe. And I've been educating and deep diving these things for 6 years, and I don't have the shield. I'm searching for it, but there might not be one. They can indoctrinate you in your living room. Understanding their patterns is the first step in protecting our communities. Right now, more than ever, we need education and awareness on media literacy. We need to teach about coercive control tactics. We need to teach people how to spot the signs. We need to teach people that. But then we have a problem as a community because there's nowhere for people to go. It's not like when you leave an abusive relationship and you can go to a woman's shelter like I've had to do. We don't have shelters for cult survivors. And maybe we should. There's only one foundation that is dedicated right now to getting people back on their feet after being in a cult, and it's the SPTV Foundation for Scientology. And that shit just started recently. We are in the early stages of this community still, and building it, and figuring out what we need. But cults have been negatively affecting this society forever. Forever. So we have a lot of catching up to do. I don't have all the answers. I just am very educated on how to be an advocate, how to do all this work, and then I'm educated on cults. But I can't do everything by myself. Right now, there's only a handful of us in Canada that are speaking out about these things. And most of them tend to focus on multi-level marketing cults. And we need focus on that. But I think we need to attack this issue as a whole. No matter what kind of cult, whether it's political, commercial, family. Did you know that's a thing? The family cult. Not the family, not the Charles Manson family. You could be a family, and it can be a cult. Your family could have a narcissistic leader that controls everything and controls all the family members and isolates people who see through them. I know because I grew up in one. So the amount of cults that there are is insane. And the amount that cults have affected you in your life may also be insane, because I feel like it almost is like abuse, where it's like everybody has been affected. It's just most people don't realize. So it is in your backyard. It's in your living room. It's in your country. It is something that you should care about. And that is why I'm here. That is why I exist on this platform. Because I was always told, if people are not making the content that you want to watch, then you make it. So that's what I'm doing. But I do think that we got to figure some things out. Because like this can't be happening. We can't have this. This is a problem, a giant problem. But this is a small cult in relation to other cults. And it just should be a wake-up call. Especially to Canada, who seems to think that certain politics don't affect us and that we're better than that or something. We're not. So don't think you are. And that sucks. But it's just the truth. And we got to figure out some way to help these guys going forward. That's all I will say about that. I don't know what the answer is, but we got to start sending them some kind of aid. We got to figure something out, because these people are going to be released out of jail probably by tomorrow afternoon, unless they find something crazy in that compound today. And what can happen to the people in this small town is actually very horrifying. And we should all be very scared on their behalf right now. And I'm asking my country to please wake up and just spend a moment and pay attention. Again, don't ever think that your city's too big, or this is too far, or this will never affect you, or you're better than this. Because nobody is. We are all up for the taking in these cults. We're coming for all of us. Like I said, There is no shield. I've been searching. It doesn't exist. You can just educate yourself as much as possible and then hope to God that one of these things don't get you. And like I said, if they do, we're still trying to figure out what the hell to do about it. So hopefully we can figure it out. The law is further behind than the advocates are, and that is also always disappointing, as I'm sure a lot of you know, just from the anti-MLM community, which showcases that quite often. It's very hard, too, when you bring in political, religion, and all that other kind of stuff, right? It's like, what are we fighting? We're fighting against the system. I had somebody once come to me and they were like, why do you speak out about those MLM things? Like, why don't you speak about something important, like politics or something? And I was like, I don't think you know what we're actually doing. Like, this is a political movement against the harmful things that are done and how they systemically manipulate you and how they use propaganda to trick you. And they're rage baiting you every second of every single day to keep you distracted. If you learn about these manipulation tactics, then you will learn how to spot when other things like that happen as well. It will help you be a better person in your life in every single way. So let's keep learning, everybody. Thank you for coming and hanging out with me today while we went over that. I wanted to come and bring the fabulous news. It is amazing that she got arrested because, you know, I'm hoping that they are able to find something. Again, it is scary. I'm scared about what happens if they do go back, but I guess we just have to, you know, otherwise we're going to want to go jump off a bridge. We're just going to have to hope to God that they find something, that even if they get released, that there is something that the RCMP can do to stop this and give these people their small town back. And again, I wish I had the answers. I wish I could say, all right, guys, we're about to save this place. It would be wonderful. But unfortunately, I don't have the money or the power for that. If I did, I would. It's exactly what I would be doing. So, that's it for our Queen of Canada stream. I hope that all of you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Keep on educating yourself. If you've been here, if you've subscribed, if you're watching today, then you're already doing it. You're already doing what you need to do. That's all you can really do is educate yourself and be updated on what's going on in the world and pay attention to these things. And then not be a bigoted asshole. I don't know. And not be anti-vax. I don't know. Keep us updated, holding thumbs. I will. As soon as I hear more news, I will let you know. They probably won't tell us much, though, publicly for a little while now, to be honest. But I hope that all of you have an awesome, amazing rest of your day. Go do something that you love. Shake this off a little bit. You know, but the time is now to make a change. And change I want to make. Stay skeptical. Stay safe. I love all of your faces. All of your faces. I don't know why I'm saying that so weird. I don't know. But it always comes out weird. So I love all of your faces. And I'll probably see you tomorrow. I hope you all have a great day.